Hey all, Andrew here. Welcome to the Onion Buns. So I want to change pace a little bit. It's still going to have to do with the election. Everything has to do with the election until the election, and then I'm going to taper off a bit. But I want to talk on a little different topic. Danielle Smith. Now, full transparency, I keep telling people, I'm going to keep saying it. One of the goals I had, or policies I guess I had for myself when I made this YouTube channel, was that I would be completely transparent on what I'm talking about. I'm not the CBC, I'm not the Globe and Mail, I'm not Global, I'm not the Toronto Red Star, I'm not one of these mainstream medias that hides their agendas and is not transparent. If I have a bias, I'm going to tell you. So we got to go back. I'm not a Jason Kenney fan, okay? I did not like Jason Kenney. I had just moved back to Alberta when Kenney came into power, when he came into power, and I noticed a disturbing amount of his policies echoed those of the policies of the Dalton McGuinty, Kathleen Wynne era, Liberal era of Ontario politics. And I was very disturbed by that, and I was not in the Jason Kenney camp because of that. As I keep telling people, I'm not actually a conservative. I'm a moderate. So I judge everybody, be a conservative, liberal. Well, I'll never vote NDP, so conservative or liberal, I guess, is my choice. But I judge them on their actions. And Kenney's actions I found very wanting. He was still a better choice than Rachel Notley, but he wasn't a good choice. It was kind of like the last Ontario election where they elected Doug Ford because he was the best of the three choices, but all three choices sucked dead penguin dicks, to be honest. Like, they had no good choice in that last provincial election, so Doug Ford got a nod. And so I wasn't a fan of Jason Kenney, and I was looking for somebody to replace Kenney, and Danielle Smith came in. And at first I was lukewarm to her. And then she said something that just sent off so many warning bells to me that I really wasn't in her camp there for quite a while. What she said was that if there was one woman that she respected and wanted to emulate in politics, it was Hillary Clinton. Now, prior to Mark Carney, I considered Hillary Clinton to be the most corrupt politician I had seen in my lifetime, bar none. And now she's second place behind Carney. Okay, so I really wasn't big on Danielle Smith, and I didn't get to vote in the UCP party stuff because, again, I'm not a conservative, I'm not a UCP member, I'm not a Liberal member, I'm not an NDP member, so I don't get to vote for their leaders. So she won. Okay, great. Ever since then, she has hit the ball right out of the park for Alberta. She really has. I gleefully eat my words or my reservations on her. I still think it was a really stupid thing of her to say that she admires or whatever. I forget exactly what the terminology was, but she spoke glowingly of Hillary Clinton. I really do think that was a stupid thing for her to say. But like I said, I judge people on their actions more than what they say. And her actions in Alberta since she took office she's been a rock star. Like, she really has. She's stood up for Alberta. She's stood up for Canada, even though Canada doesn't give her nearly the respect they should be. That's the other thing is, I think there's only been two adults in the room regarding Trump's stupid tariffs, and that is Danielle Smith and Scott Moore of Saskatchewan. That's it. Nobody else has been an adult. Not Ford, not Carney, not Trudeau, not Freeland, not Elizabeth I Fall Down Nightly May, not Jagmeet Singh. None of them. The only people that have been speaking common sense and reality has been Premier Danielle Smith and Premier Scott Moe. And sadly, they've been classified traitors of Canada by the elite East for it. And I think that's just disgusting, honestly. I do. So anyway, yesterday, or the day before, I guess it was the day before now, Carney was in Victoria. And I'm not going to play the clip because it's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting what he said and the way he went on about it. But what I noticed is Carney and Trudeau, they have a real problem with strong women. You look at Trudeau, he got rid of Jody Wilson-Raybould. He got rid of Jane Fillmore. He got rid of Ruby Dalla. Like, these were strong, intelligent women, principled women. I may not agree with their politics, but I respected all three of them. And they were tossed aside like yesterday's trash for standing up to Trudeau and Carney. And I find that despicable. And I honestly do not understand how any self-respecting woman in Canada can get behind Carney or Trudeau for the way they've treated women. I mean, Trudeau he elbowed a woman in the tit and then said, I guess she experienced it different than me. Hey, what idiot says that? You say, sorry, I apologize, I'll never do it again. That's what you say. No, he said, I guess she experienced it differently than me. So now we get to Carney. And Carney said some despicable stuff about Danielle Smith in his Victoria, you can't call it a rally. I guess it was a luncheon or something. There's like 30, 35 Depends wearing seniors in the crowd cheering him on, so whatever you want to call that, I don't know. So anyway, Danielle Smith came out with a reply on that, and I think her reply is amazing, and I agree with it. But it baffles me in this day and age in 2025, when especially the liberals are so focused on identity politics and virtue signaling and yada yada yada, that they can treat women the way they do. We've seen Carney blow up at women reporters for asking him a question. He doesn't do it to male reporters. He only does it to the women reporters. He gets downright belligerent to them. He gets rude to them, and they're only doing their jobs. Again, I don't have any use whatsoever for Rosemary Barton or whatever her name is from the CBC, but you answer her question when she asks a question. You don't look inside yourself, Rosemary. Look inside yourself. It's condescending, it's ignorant, it's demeaning, and it has no place in 2025 society. It really doesn't. So I'm going to play the clip of Danielle replying. She gets asked about Carney's demeaning and insulting comments to her. Not to her, about her, because Carney's a coward and he doesn't say any of this shit to anyone's face, which is another reason why I have absolutely no respect for him. He's a fucking coward. He really is. I know in nowadays it's like Carney is 1 year older than me, and I know in nowadays era it's not cool to say this, but when I was in junior high school and high school, I will guarantee you Mark Carney was being shoved headfirst into garbage pails. I'll guarantee it. I would put money on it. He was that kid. Like I've seen it done. I'm not proud of it, but I've done it myself to a loudmouth kid in high school when I went to Jasper Place Comp in Edmonton. And I guarantee you Mark Carney ended up in a few garbage pails himself for his obnoxious attitude, because you can tell he's had this attitude his whole life. This isn't something new. He's perpetuated this elitist, snobbish attitude. And then I recently heard a video of his father talking, and now everybody's going on about what his father called the residential school children culturally retarded. And yeah, in 2025, that is completely unacceptable to say, but this was 1960s, people. It's not nice to say, but that's how they spoke. So he really wasn't speaking anything out of the era he was in. But the aloofness and the condescending tone that you hear in his voice, you hear it in Mark Carney's voice. Like, he learned from his father well on that regard. So yeah, I have no doubt that Mark Carney did not have a happy childhood, no matter what he tells you. But anyway, so he's being he's being disgusting, honestly, in 2025 era. And here's what Danielle Smith had to say.
Of course, to Dr. Eagle, who I've known for many, many years, how do you feel about being mocked by the Prime Minister of Canada and Liberal leaders, which he did, I believe, in Victoria, bringing your name up and the name of Premier Ford, but more so yourself, and making you the butt of jokes during the campaign?
Well, I've noticed this with progressive men, how much they talk about how much they support women until they meet a strong conservative woman. And so this is a pretty consistent type of approach that I've seen, not only from the current Prime Minister, but the former one as well. And the attitude is, sit down and shut up. Well, I don't shut up. I make sure that Albertans know exactly how I feel about issues, and I'm going to continue advocating on behalf of my province, whether he likes it or not.
And nor should she shut up. She should keep doing what she's doing, because, again, her and Scott Moe have been the only two premiers in Canada that have been adults in the room regarding this whole stupid Trump tariff bullshit. And frankly, I think we'd be a lot further along if it wasn't for Carney and Trudeau. But Carney and Ford, for this matter, and Ebby out in BC, they need these Trump tariffs because it distracts everyone away from their actual records. Like their entire political careers are hanging on Trump's tariffs. But Smith and Mo, they went down to the States and they were actually making headways with the Republicans. And then Trudeau would open his mouth or Carney would open his mouth and yeah, all that headway went out the window, and then they would turn around and they'd blame Danielle Smith. Strangely enough, they never blamed Carney, they never blamed Scott Moe. Amazing. They blamed the woman. They didn't blame the other guy. Methinks something stinks in Denmark. So yeah, like she shouldn't shut up. She's doing a fantastic job for Alberta and for Canada. At least she's trying. And that's more than you can say. I mean, Doug Ford is just basically warmongering. He wants these tariffs to keep going for as long as he possibly can because it's the only political currency he has. Same for David Eby in BC and same for Mark Carney. I mean, Mark Carney's only announced, well, he's announced a couple things now. He announced he's going to triple the industrial carbon tax should he be elected. Well, that's not good for us. He's announced prefab homes. Well, what he hasn't announced is who he give that contract to. Brookfield builds prefab homes. So really all he's going to do is take, $30 billion out of the Canadian coffers and line his own pockets. And make no mistake, these homes will never get made, or maybe 1/100th of what's promised will get made because, yeah, he's just looking to get more money, you know? I honestly think, and I really hope Poilievre gets elected so that he can enact this, because I'm personally going to find a way to contact him and ask him about this. I want to see Brookfield and SNL Lavalin, or whatever they're calling themselves now since their scandal. I know they changed their name, but I forget what they changed it to. I want to see them barred, absolutely blacklisted from Canadian government contracts moving forward. Just done. Too much corruption, too much scandal. It's time we put our foot down on it. So anyway, yeah, I think Danielle Smith is getting a real raw deal from the Canadian public, mainly out east, and some idiots here in Edmonton. And I don't think Carney, the way he talks about her, is prime ministerial at all. I think it's childish. I think it's ignorant. And I really don't understand why any woman, regardless what they think of Danielle Smith, why any woman would accept Carney talking about women like that. I don't get it. I really don't get it. It's baffling to me. Like, how indoctrinated must you be that you think it's okay for him to talk about her like that? Like, if he doesn't agree with her, don't bring her up. Don't mention her name. Don't fucking sit there and insult her when she can't defend herself and make moronic jokes. Like, come on, have a little bit of class. I don't think it's unreasonable that Canadians ask our prime minister to have some class. I really don't think that's unreasonable. We don't want to see your socks. We don't want to hear about how much money you stole from the UK or from Peru, how much of the Brazilian rainforest you cut down. Like, these are not things you should be bragging about. We want you to show some class, some integrity, some ethics. And frankly, I've not seen any of that from Mark Carney. I didn't see any of that from Justin Trudeau either. So anyway, that's all I have for you today. If you like this video, leave a like, a subscribe, and a share. I'm trying to grow my channel, and a like, a subscribe, and a share does me wonders. And I do thank it. Don't ever think I don't appreciate the people that do like, subscribe, and share. If you didn't like this video, leave a dislike. Always feel free to leave a comment. Don't worry, I don't swing my cane too strongly anymore if I dislike your comment. And as always, pew, 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 and shit. Thanks for watching. Bye.